Welcome back to the Your Invisible Advantage podcast. It's me, T. I'm your host, and today we have another episode of Conversations with Success where we have the beautiful Candy Kemp, and I'm so excited for this conversation. This is the first time I've met Candy. I have followed her for so long, and her title of being the cult-like brand builder is not lost because I literally am obsessed with everything she does. So that is why we have her on today. Welcome, Candy.
Thank you so much. That was so lovely. Thank you so much
Short
for
and
having
sweet.
me here. No, this is my first time in a studio as well. So you're my first time being actually in studio for a podcast. So thanks for having me on.
We love popping the cherries here, so this is good. So if you don't know Candy, which you need to go and follow her instantly, but I'm pretty sure everyone would already probably be following you from my audience, but you are someone who has built a brand not once, not twice, again and again and again and again. And I do personal branding. That is something that I do, personal branding, business, authenticity online. And I do a lot with like the human side as well, not just the strategy. And something that I love about you and I really admire, and I honestly, like I sit there and take notes. I'm like, what is she doing? Like, what? She's so good at that. But is building a cult-like personal brand. So firstly, what I want to let the audience know is you are an 11-time founder, which is insane. I'm a one-time founder. I feel like such a small fish. So can you explain to us or let the audience know what's your journey been? How did you get into business and what have your businesses been?
Yeah, sure. Well, it started, I was a single mum at the time. I had a little, I think she would have been maybe 5, 6 years old, and I got into makeup. Actually, no. First thing was I moved to Sydney. She was 2 years old. I sold everything I had because I wanted to do makeup. So I sold it all, moved to Sydney to do the Napoleon course. And then I lived there and I just thought, I don't know that this is what I want to do. And I got invited to be a teacher here as soon as I finished my course. And I just remember thinking, I just don't know that's what I want to do. And I saw that there was an opportunity to have the Napoleon makeup stands and you had your own business.
Yep.
So I just scoured the area I lived in, which was Bulimba, Oxford Street at the time. It wasn't as cool as it is now. I know it goes through its phases. But I scoured the street and I thought there has to be somewhere, because I had no money. I thought there has to be somewhere I can just rent the front of their shop and I'll get this Napoleon kit and I'll just work, have my own business. And I think I approached every single salon on that street and none of the cool ones said yes. But this one that was owned by a woman in her 60s, but I had a really great front area. She's like, yeah, go on, let's do it. So I rented that off her and that was my first, official business. And then she was selling the salon, I think 3 months later, and I was devastated because I had a really good, clientele coming in, loved the area. So I just said to her, I have to buy it. Her name was Cheryl. It's like, Cheryl, I have to buy it.
Cheryl, it's mine.
And again, I had no money. I borrowed money from family and I bought this salon. I remember it was $30,000, which is a steal now, looking back. And I just spent a few $1,000s transforming it, and that became Emporium Hair and Makeup. So I had no hair experience. Obviously, I employed hairdressers and got them in, and at the time, I didn't realize that I was really doing something, but I just remember thinking, I just want people to feel something when they come in here. I want it to feel like you're an elevated version of yourself when you come in here. So I didn't have much money, but I just spent it making it feel like an experience. And I got rid of all the pricing because I just thought, I don't want people to come in for pricing. I want them to come in for how they feel. So that was the first one. But then I got this flyer in the mail, and it was called Stores Online. It was American company coming over to do a seminar and having websites. And this is how old I am. E-com didn't exist.
Yeah.
This was like the first company to do it. It's like they were coming to teach people about websites. So I went along to this seminar. I took my best friend, who was also my manager, and I went to this seminar, and I just remember being like, this is the way of the future, an online store. And I left, I think it was $500. And because you didn't just have your own website, you ran it through them, and then you could just pick your storefront. It was like a plug and play thing. And I said to my best friend, let's do it. And she was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. But by the end, she said, I don't think I can do it. I'm too nervous. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go all in. And I remember I had to put it on a payment plan, that $500, like a 6-month payment plan or something. And that was my first online store. I started a bridal boutique, an online website, which then led me to a children's clothing label, which then led me to, my mum passed away from terminal cancer. So that was a break for me. I sold that business. And then when I came back into it, I started a dumpling business because food just rules my life.
Yeah.
And then that led me to Cocoa Bliss, which was a superfood business. And then e-com, coaching, it just continues on from there.
Wow. Like what a portfolio firstly. And I love that way you're like, this is showing my age, but this is how we used to do it back then. It's so wild how things have transformed and how, I guess, blessed and lucky we are now versus back in the day without any AI, without anyone going first. You had to have some big balls to take those risks on yourself. Where do you think you learnt that of like taking those risks or was there something in your upbringing that really made you believe in yourself or?
Yeah, I would say I've been really independent since I was young because when I was 8, my dad passed away and that actually happened in front of us. So we got taken home by people we didn't know. Like imagine being an 8-year-old girl, 10-year-old boy, and these people you don't know are driving you home and you don't know why. You just know your dad's been in an accident. And so we got driven home by these people and I'll never forget the little moments in that day. And then my mum collapsing and just, there were no mobile phones. So she didn't know till we arrived either. And she's got these strangers bringing her children home. And from that moment, my mum's from Thailand and she didn't know she couldn't speak a lot of English when she first came here with my dad. And I think she really just threw herself into work. She had her own business as well. And then she worked multiple jobs. So I was this little 8-year-old girl that just went, okay, well, I'll cook and I'll clean and I'll get myself to school. And I really took care of myself and my brother from that lens. And I just became independent. I think it was just like I don't complain about anything. I just do what I have to do and I get it done. So I think then when it comes to business, it's never been scary. It's just, I've always just thought if I'm not hurting anyone, if no one's dying, there's nothing that could go that wrong in the world. So let's just give it a go. I'll try it, see what happens and see how it turns out.
Yeah, what a freaking mindset. And I feel like, so we were just talking about in our last conversation with Nerida, we were talking about how most people, they're not used to adversity. So then it's like when they come into business, it feels really hard for them. But for you, it's almost like, yes, business is hard, but there's harder things in life. Like, so not to discredit that business isn't hard. But so when we think about the businesses that you had, which is like a long list that we can get out, what do you think the difference, if you can look back, and I guess we only really know these things in hindsight, but what do you think the difference is between the businesses that really thrived and you loved and then the ones that maybe didn't thrive as much or didn't work? And I mean, I'm assuming, I actually don't know, they could have all been super successful and I actually have zero clue. So you can also tell me that.
No, they weren't all successful. Definitely not. So I think that's encouraging for other people. Yeah. I think it was about they were successful enough, but my first 7-figure business was, I think, number 7 or 8. So It doesn't happen straight away. I would say without a shadow of the doubt looking back, and again, I didn't know this at the time, but it's only when I started business coaching that I was like, what are the similarities here in my most successful businesses? It was always the ones where I was feeling something I wanted for myself. I was obsessed with it, like utterly obsessed with everything I was doing. And I just built this world around it. So it wasn't about the product or service I was selling. It was this bigger mission and this bigger focus. And I created such incredible communities. The community aspect is what really made those businesses pop off.
I love that. So do you feel like that then, you talk a lot about creating a brand world and creating that experience, and you even mentioned earlier, which I love, is like, let's get rid of the prices and not make it about that. Let's make it about the experience that someone has when they come to X service or X place. So do you feel like the thing that really separated those was a brand? And then I love what you said about like you had to be in it as well, because like it's very easy if you want to have a business and just make money. Like, you can make money pretty much doing anything. Like go do a cold call service, you'll make money. Go sell insurance, you'll make money. But it's like actually doing something you love and then getting paid to do what you love as well, I think is we're so blessed to be able to do that and have that option. But do you think it was the brand that really made that possible? Like do you see community and brand as the same thing?
Yeah, I think that the thing that I've seen the most where it doesn't work for people is they're just trying to be for everybody. And they're just like, I don't want to choose who it's for. I want everyone to be able to access it.
I feel attacked.
Yeah. And I get that. And it doesn't mean people outside of you aren't going to come in and love what you do. But how much stronger is it when you're talking down your phone to that one person and you're like, I made this for you. I created this because I know what you needed and I've done that. that's when I create my businesses, I'm talking to me. I'm talking to that, like my skincare business. I had a 7-figure skincare business and I made $150,000 a month from the spare room in my house very quickly. Within, I think by month 6, we were over $100,000 a month. And that was because I was speaking to the version of me that had pain. You know, she didn't feel confident in her skin, and she was sick of wasted money, and she was sick of all these products that didn't work, all the broken promises. So every bit of content, I was talking to her. And I had one product. I made 7 figures off one product, not a whole range of products, not 7, like literally one product, one oil. And I built it off that. And then I built this incredible community. And same with Cocoa Bliss, same with, I've had my dumpling business. We were literally behind a dog wash in a car park because we couldn't afford a proper store. So it was very Melbourne, like back alley.
That's cool,
We were in this back car park. Literally, we said to the guy, can we use the car park in the back of that store? And there was a dog wash at the front. But we had people lining up down the street all the way around the corner for hours for our dumplings. And like the dumplings were good, don't get me wrong. They were really good. But I created this because, well, one, I love food. I had to go pay for parking in Chinatown or Sunnybank if I wanted to get dumplings. I was like, this is just too hard. It's taking up too much of my day. Let's make it a bit more mainstream, but let's bring some modern culture to it as well, and let's make it a bit of a fun brand for people. And those lineups weren't just there for the dumplings. Once they tasted the dumplings, they were like, that's it, we're sold, we're back. But they were there to support these 2 girls who they could see giving it a go, who were obsessed with food. We had babies on our pouches at markets when we first started, and it was that they were supporting.
That is so cool. I have so many questions with that. So you had all of these amazing businesses, and the ones that really, really took off were the ones that had obviously this brand element, and where it wasn't just about the service or, you know, the product. It was more so about, all right, let's create the experience. Let's get the community involved. You said something there about making it fun for people as well, where, you know, people get to get involved and they get to feel like they're a part of building it. So would you say that when people, like, let's say people come to work with you, is that like the biggest gap that you see with people, where it's like they're trying to market a thing rather than, you know, building around the brand founder, around the mission, around the why? Would you say that?
100%. If I look at your website and you're already pitching your product and you haven't told me why it matters, that's my first sign of, okay, we need to focus on your brand. And people are probably going to check their website.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh shit, let me
and go. But we try and sell to people before giving them a reason to actually care about what we're selling. So I think, you know, I heard someone on a podcast, it was an American one the other day, and they were saying how this guy, Sam, he started, I can't remember the name of the supermarket in Tribeca, but he's gone viral on TikTok. Amazing brand. I love following it. And this woman was saying he's the one that brought building in public to social media. He's the first one that's ever really created this concept. I was like, oh, that's interesting. When I look back, I was building in public with Happy Little Dumplings, which was 14 years ago, I think. And I didn't realize at the time that's what I was doing, but I just thought, let's take people along and show them the ride. So, you know, we were 2 girls trying to set up our gazebo at these markets and we couldn't get it set up. And then we had never used the Bunsen burner and we set our thing on fire and we showed people that. And they still came and lined up for our dumplings. And then we sold out in the first 2 hours.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I feel like that's a misconception, is people are like, oh, but if they see the person behind it, they might think I'm not as professional. Or, you know, if I make a mistake and I share that online, like nearly burning the place down, that's going to mean I'm not a smart business person. But people don't realize people aren't buying into you because you're a smart business person, right? Like, so when you have which business do you think it was like the first one you had the brand with?
Happy Little Dumpling. No, Princess Rat Bag. My children's clothing label. Yeah, it was a children's clothing label. So that would have been 1, 2, 3, my third business.
And you said you had like a really loyal community around that, did you?
Yeah. Amazingly loyal community. This was built around, I have 2 daughters and one of them's a princess, one was a rat bag. So I named it after them. And this was a product, actually, I have to say, it made me a lot of money, but I didn't start this for my own passion or purpose. So this is one that kind of goes against what I normally believe in. Yeah. It was purely that my wedding dress manufacturer showed me these skirts and I Googled them and they were trending in America, but no one was doing them here in Australia. And I could see that this brand was huge in America. So I just said to her, send me the photos. I'll start a Facebook page today. And I started the page that day and I just sent it to about 200 photographers because I could see from photography forums in Australia, they were ordering in bulk from this brand in America. It's like I sent it to all these photographers and I said, if you buy a skirt today, you'll get it for half price, $50 instead of $90. And I said, the first 5 to message me, I'll give you 3 for free in exchange for photography. So I got that. That happened within minutes. But I also had about 200 orders that night. I didn't even have a website. I had a Facebook page.
I didn't even have the product.
I had like $15,000 coming through my account. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on?
That is so amazing. Where did you learn all these strategies? Like, was that something that you had a mentor for, or did you kind of just stumble across them and now you look back and you're like, oh, I was doing a strategy there, but at the time it wasn't really?
Definitely stumbled.
Yeah.
I had a baby and I had two young girls at the time, and this was literally at 2 a.m. I think it was like 23rd of December. My husband at the time had taken them to Byron for the weekend and I was going down to meet them, and I literally came up with this. I was like, I might be late. I've got to start this new business. And I had no idea. But then I created this logo. I started this Facebook page. I started directing people there. And from that moment, I thought, I've got a real opportunity here. And the photos that were coming back from the photographers were beautiful. And I also hadn't seen someone do children's clothing at that Vogue kind of level. So I really created moments. I did a photo shoot where I had the photographer that did my first photo. It was the best photo. That sold me a lot of pettiskirts. I said to her, I'd love to hire you as my photographer now. And she was only just starting out, so it was also great for her. And we did this beautiful photo shoot under in Brisbane. There's like the Brisbane River and there's all these beautiful willow trees or something.
Yeah.
And we set up this long table with lanterns and invited customers to bring their daughters along and wear the skirts, and they would get to take them home. And it just looked like this beautiful, whimsical, long lunch for children. And I just said, don't pose any of them. Just let them play, let them have fun. And Donna Hay magazine picked up that image and said, can we use it? And can you send us your skirts? And then it kind of built a name from there.
Wow.
And I ended up with 70 stockists within that first year, and it just took off. But I think the biggest thing for it feeling like a brand was I wanted this unboxing experience. I put myself in the mind of the mother and the child. And I was just imagining how excited the child was to open this beautiful, it was a pettiskirt, this beautiful skirt. So I wanted the unboxing experience to be really special. So I had these beautiful magnetic boxes and they were embossed with the gold foil logo on the top. And when you opened it up, there was wording on the inside. And I had these huge lollipops made by an old school lolly maker. And they were in the same colours as the pettiskirts.
Oh, cool.
So parents were photographing it and putting it all over Facebook and just sending me these long messages saying, my daughter cried with happiness, or she's so proud she won't take it off. And then they just start stacking these boxes. And some of my customers had princess wrap bag racks in their children's rooms where they just collected every single colour.
That is freaking wild. I feel like no one actually understands the power of brand, like that it can be that powerful. And I think what I'm really picking up from you is you really value making people feel seen. And I think that's what, like, seen and connected to the brand and to why you're doing something. So it's like you're not just like, I want to sell you a product, make money off you, and then off you go. It's like I'm putting effort into the campaigns. I'm putting effort into the boxing. You don't get technically you don't get anything back as like a money ROI right then and there for paying $20 extra a box, just as an example. But it's like that's going to pay off long term because of the experience. And you think about that, even just I wanted the unboxing to be an experience for people. I feel like that's such a common thing that people miss is like once they get the sale, we're done. Yeah. And it's like, no, the transaction has just started. Once they pay you, it's like, what then? What's your customer experience like? What's your client experience like? So is that something you really focus on as well? Like 100%. Not just the marketing, but also behind the scenes?
Yeah, for sure. And not just in product as well, because I would say 50% of my clients are service and coaching as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not just product. Even in service and coaching, you can still create that same experience. You can still, it doesn't always have to be physical, but I love doing physical things still. I think that's the product girl in me, where I still like to send something or still make it feel like this real world. But it's just the way that you make people feel when they come in, you know, rather than just I've purchased a course or I'm doing coaching. Is like, what are they stepping into? Is there a feeling involved here? Is there community? Because they're your biggest advocates. You know, I'd say that all of my most successful businesses, the reason why I had so much return customer is you think about how long it takes to build trust with somebody. It's like 7 steps to needing to see them again and again. I think it's more like 12 now these days. But if it takes 12 steps for somebody to trust you, get to know you, understand what you're about, versus one of your friends just saying, recommending you, you're completely collapsing that bridge. And it happens so much faster. And you think about your own lives. When someone recommends something, you're just straight on the website.
Yeah.
And then when you have a good experience, that's it, you're locked in as well.
Yeah, and I think that's so underrated for people online specifically, if we talk about that with like coaches, consultants, anyone building a personal brand is, I think they forget that element of it's super important to have word of mouth as well. Like that's probably one of the biggest ways that you can actually grow. And people, if we look at it from a psychology lens, like they love to be a part of a pack. They love to be a part of a tribe. So they're also buying into like the collective identity that they get to step into. So the mums who had all those things on their shelves, like they can post a video of that and they're now included in that. And if you think about like women, we just want to be included. We want to find our people and things. So did you really like leverage that? I mean, like I know you kind of just stumbled upon it, but I guess that's what you leverage, right?
Yeah. With that brand, I had a Facebook group and all the mums would come, and on a Friday night I did a little live sale. So it was like if we had, extra excess sizes or new season coming in, I would put up, this Friday, 6 p.m. or put your babies to bed and then we'll see you here at 6 p.m. And I can't remember exactly how it worked back then, but I just remember by the time I would get on and my children were asleep, they'd already been there with their champagne talking to each other for the previous 30 minutes, and they were like, who's excited? Which style are you going to get? And then they would talk about their children and how they're struggling settling them, and they were just these conversations. I remember sitting down in front of it because I was part of an online mums group myself. I remember sitting down in front of it and just smiling and going, I love this. I love that. Yeah, I love that there's this community. So the Facebook group was strong. And then same when I started my skincare business, the Facebook group was so strong that if someone came in and they were like, I've got acne-prone skin, is this product okay for me or how do I use it? If I'm going in an hour later and checking it, 300 people have already responded and told them their tips or what they're finding works for them. So really incredible utilizing the community.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think that comes down to also the positioning, what you said earlier, where it's so important that you talk to one person. And I think people are so afraid of isolating and, but what if this person, and what if I, say this and this person over here isn't doing that, and they get so worried to leave people out. But something I noticed when I was like stalking your page, getting ready for this podcast, there was something you did and now I forget, it's like leaving my mind, but you'll probably know what I'm talking about. You had one of your brands where the positioning actually was a shock to me. I was like, I love that you went that way. It was where you said we weren't a premium brand. What was that for? There was like something and you were like, we went the opposite of a premium brand. We wanted to be like an everyday brand or something.
It may have been when I was talking about Cocoa Bliss. Was it where I was saying it might have been Cocoa Bliss, because typically if you're going somewhere that's like cold pressed, organic, health food, it would be very like organic store. And the only places that really existed like that then were in Byron Bay. And I did want to be mainstream for that brand, but I still wanted to do it in a way. So I'm not sure if this is what you were talking about, but I definitely thought with Cocoa Bliss, I remember talking to my business partners saying we have to make health food mainstream, like make it cool for the mainstream consumer, that they don't feel intimidated coming in here and they don't feel like they have to know what kombucha is, or, they don't have to have like the soaked nuts. And, there was all of these things where I just thought, no, I want them to just come in, see a beautiful bowl or see a healthy raw treat and know that, okay, well, I know what a Snickers is. This is a healthy version of it. So I think we were the first ones actually doing the raw healthy Snickers even, and now you just see them everywhere. So it was all about like making sure that the branding looked fun and approachable, but at the same time, we still were to fit into the Fitspo community at the time, because Fitspo was really blowing up on social media.
Yeah.
And I knew that if we could get them coming after their workouts, after their boot camps and their gym classes, and you see them all swarming around the front, more would come and more would follow. But this is that perfect example of we're talking to that consumer, to the Fitspo, the person who loves their workouts, they want to come for a protein shake. And I was doing fitness comps myself at the time as well. I think that's why I wanted to do it. But it didn't mean we didn't have, a 70-year-old woman come in and want to be healthy herself and buy those things. So you're not shutting out everybody. But it just makes your brand so much more powerful when you are speaking to the person where they can literally go, you are in my head, you're reading my mind, and they just feel so locked in. And then to the other people listening, because they're all eavesdropping, if they're semi-interested in it, they're not looking at you going, I don't know what this brand is, because 1 minute's this, then it's this, and that comes across as being a bit flaky. You know, people pivot who they're for all the time because they can't hold their ground because they want to be for everybody. And I think that's where your brand is diluted.
Yeah. So talk to me about then your failed businesses, and we don't have to go into details, but, you know, when I say failed, I don't actually mean like failed, but like the businesses that, let's say, you closed down or you didn't end up taking further, or maybe they did fail, but like it could have been a decision, not your decision, either or. How did you feel going to a new business? Because I love what you said, where it wasn't until like your 7th brand or something that you had the 7-figure business or, you know, hyper successful, even though they were all, I would say they would all be successful to some point. How did you handle that internally? Because I know a lot of people put so much pressure on themselves that, all right, I come in with this idea and this is the thing that I'm going to do. And they're so tunnel vision on one thing, they can't kind of see a bigger picture past it. And they, you know, if something doesn't work or something doesn't go the way they planned and they do have to change business or they go down a different route, people often have a lot of shame associated with that, which I don't think that the shame should be there at all. I think it's amazing that you've done so many things. What was your mindset around it when, let's say, one business closed, another opened? Did you feel any of those feelings or, how did that go?
I think the first one that kind of, I guess, inverted commas, failed was Happy Little Dumplings. And that was because we went through a partnership, not just different visions. They wanted corporate. We were this brand that really, we were on the ground for our community. I think we had 6 stores or something like that when we decided to part ways. And again, it was like they wanted corporate. They wanted to continue expanding shopping centers, the works. And I just felt like this isn't right. This doesn't feel like, you know, my heart, my soul anymore. And I didn't feel connected to it. So we walked away from that. So that was the first one. We didn't have time to think about the failure of it because we had young children. We had 7 children between us. And we were literally like, we walked away with nothing, not a single dollar. We had to walk away without taking anything. And it was literally like, how are we feeding our kids this week? So we came up with a business overnight, which was just food deliveries in the CBD just to get us through until we came up with the next thing. And Cocoa Bliss was the next brand. And I would say that the way that partnership fell apart at some point, it's still running today, it's still doing great today. But where that fell over was, again, I think it's about just different visions from people. And when you are very community focused, it's not always better to go bigger.
Yeah.
You know, I think that there's a point where you just have to make a decision, and going bigger is not wrong either. Like, you know, big companies need to exist in this world too, but I've just realized that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah. And you seem like someone who your value, I would say you really value connection to what you're doing. Yeah. So I would say that kind of bleeds out into the decisions you make, the businesses you have, and how you run them as well. Because I think that, you know, different people value different things. So some people, their value is like, how do we just build this company as big as we can, get as hands off as we can? That's perfect. Like, everyone has just different ways that they want to build and they want to grow and scale. So why did you never get a normal job? Like, did that never like cross your mind? Were you like, I'm absolutely not cut out for that? Like,
no, I actually worked in an aviation insurance brokerage.
Oh, cool.
So I did have a normal job, and I worked in retail as well before that. But it was just, I just remember being in this aviation insurance business thinking, and I actually loved my job and I loved working there, but I just remember wanting to be a makeup artist and wanting to go do this course in Napoleon. And this was risky because I was a single mom. I had a baby, and I literally sold my car, all my furniture, everything. And I moved to Sydney. I didn't know anybody. And I hadn't even seen, there was no realestate.com. I can't even remember how I rented this place. But when I rocked up, it was not like the listing. Had no kitchen. Like, literally had no kitchen, which was interesting.
Oh my gosh. And
so
like back then we really, I mean, I don't actually know even how long ago that was, but I mean, I'm 34. So, you know, I was around before the internet.
I'm 43. So what's that?
So Yeah, well,
9 years.
I grew up when like the internet was just coming in, was
Yeah.
like halfway through my childhood.
Yeah.
So I grew up without internet and then with it as well.
Yeah.
So I had like both. But it's like, yeah, even when we had it, it was dial up, you know, like it wasn't like you could just, and we bought credit on our mobile phones.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, I feel like it's such a different world now that we live in. When I say like, why didn't you get a job? I mean, in between.
In between.
Where you were like, I need to feed my kids. Like, was it just like,
I don't know. That didn't even come into consideration, not for a second.
I feel like you're just that entrepreneur mind where it's like, nope, I'm doing something myself. Like, do you feel like you're a very rebellious, like sovereign person? Not rebellious, but just like sovereign, like you want your own thing?
I don't even know if that was it. I think it's just, isn't it crazy? Actually, I've never thought about that before, that in my mind, it was easier to start a new business than to get a job.
I love that because I'm like, let me study your mind. Like I want to tap into that. That is so interesting to me because I feel like 98% of the population, 99% of the population would have been like, I'll just go get another job. Like I'll just go work for someone else.
Especially after what they would feel is a failure.
Yeah.
Maybe another failure, yeah.
And like let's actually like unpack that because I think that is freaking amazing. And I think that because you haven't even thought about it, that's where the gold is because that's how you naturally operate. So like, let's look at that. Why do you feel some people, I feel like a lot of people would have a lot of shame around that, but the way that you view it is just like, well, there's just another opportunity for me. I haven't found it yet. So if someone was out there, let's just say they had a business that they thought was going to be the one and they were super happy with it. And then all of a sudden things change, plans change, life change, finances change. Doesn't matter what type of business it is. And let's say it's starting to go downhill and they're like, fuck, I have to exit this. Like I have to get rid of it for whatever reason. Yeah. What would your advice be to them? And I know that's really hard. Because
if I put myself in the first moment that I felt any, like I guess a shimmer of shame would have been when we took our superfood, like our brand from, I think it was 10 stores down to 1. And it was like this rebuild. And I remember being on the phone to my friend, my business partner, and just going, she was like, what do we do? And we're like, you know, we didn't expect it to go this way, but it was like breaking up a partnership. This is what we have to do. We've got to go down to 1 store. And I remember we had this moment of what are people going to think? What are they going to say? Like we've been on the front cover of all of these magazines and newspapers for how well our business is doing. And it was still doing so well. But this had to be a decision of our brand. Like really it felt like saving our brand is why we went back to 1 store. And I remember we would like on the phone talking about this feeling of what about being judged? And we had to go, we have children. Do we actually care about being judged? So we had to just suck it up and go, forget everyone else. Let's go back to when we started, what we loved. And this is the thing I'm trying to teach everybody is why did you start your business in the first place?
Yeah.
Because that magic gets lost. I see it every single day. I've actually got goosebumps. See, I'm going to get emotional. But I see it every day as people forget why they started in the first place. Like that magic. We have to go back to that because that's the thing that will save your business.
Yeah. I don't even, like, I feel like I have goosebumps as well. I'm like, oh my gosh, where do I even want to go with this? I feel like that is absolutely correct because it becomes more about, you know, public perception and not even in a good way, not in like the community building way, but like it comes about what will people think? What will other business owners think? Will I look like a failure? What if I make this decision and it's the wrong one? All these different things come in, but I love what you said is like, we have children, like we can't actually, why are we focusing on this? You know, and I think if we look at the core of it, it's like when you get to the end of your life, do you want to look back and be like, I lived my life so scared of making decisions because I was so worried about what some random person on the internet who I don't actually know is, or do I want to be doing something I love, get paid to do what I love, make important, significant impact and like make decisions that feel good to me. And I feel like so many people struggle with that in business, especially when it comes to, you know, building the way they want to, having products the way they want to, posting content the way they want to. Like I'm sure you see this a lot where people question themselves with content because they don't see other people doing it a certain way or anything like that. Is that something that you see with your clients a lot?
Yeah, I literally spoke about this last week with them because I was like, why are you it was really just me saying to them, stop toning everything down. Stop diluting what you want to say. What do you actually want to say? what is the core of your message and how would you say it if you're telling your best friend or your partner? You know, that's the version that we want to see. And I was just saying to them, we're creating content for people that are never going to buy from you. Someone that's not your customer, they're not your people, they're not going to play a part in your future, but you're shaping everything you put out publicly for that person. Why? That's not what we're here for. So this is why I think when you can zoom in and you lock in on that one person and you pretend you're just talking to her, shut out all the rest of the noise, that person needs you. That person needs to hear what you're about. That person needs you to save them. I really like to think of brand as like there's a villain.
Yeah.
And who is the villain? What are we fighting against? And it's not your competitors. I find that people are always like, well, my
it's
competition.
A person. It's like, it's not a person.
Or the other brand, like, it's not that. What's the thing what's the industry narrative that you don't believe in? You're not here for that. What's something that you want to change in the world? And then you get to come in as the hero, and not you specifically, but what you're here to change, that comes in as the hero. And then what you're selling just supports that. That's just their way into that world.
Yeah. And I love that so much because the way that I teach it is like, and I mean like we'll have similar things that cross over, but I teach it in the way of like you've got your you bucket, which is like obviously the founder. You do the founder content yourself, what you're doing, what you're navigating, your story, all of that jazz. And then and it makes people fall in love with you and your personality. You then have the middle one, which is like the identity. That's like what culture, what community, what philosophies, what beliefs do you have that you're buying, that people are essentially buying into? Like what's that status that they're coming into? And then you've got your offer. But most people think the offer is the only thing they talk about. Yeah. And it's like, that's like 1/3 of the pie. You know, we don't need to just talk about that all the time. And people do, and then they focus on my competitor's doing this, and then they start to like shit talk everyone. And it's like, no, like focus on serving your audience, you know? So do you work with primarily at the moment, like in coaching? Is it coaches, service providers, e-com?
Yeah, all of it. Business Lounge is where I teach people, and I really, even me, Business Lounge isn't for everybody. It's only for the people that want to build something that has, like a brand that has soul. If your brand doesn't have, if you just want to make money, there's plenty of other programs out there and communities out there that are perfect for that, for e-com especially. Mine is really for somebody who they have a business, but they actually want to really build a name for themselves and authority, and they want a cult brand and they want to stand for something. And what I've really noticed a shift lately in the people in there as well, and some incredible wins. And that's because they've gone from, I always do this, I'm like, just think about, you've got $1 million in your bank account and you no longer have to sell for money. What would change about the way you're doing things right now? What would you strip away and go, well, I would no longer have this available. I would no longer talk like this. I would no longer take on these clients. What would change? And they can pretty easily go, I wouldn't do this. And I'm going, well, we're starting that now. We're actually starting backwards. If you need more money, go get another job or go drive Uber or something at night. We're not sacrificing your brand to make weird decisions because you feel like you need money, because that's just totally disrupting your brand.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like I posted something the other day. I'm a bit of a savage, but I'm also super compassionate. But I said something and I was like, desperate people do stupid shit. And I feel like what you said there, it's like when someone feels like they're in that desperation state, they will start doing things that like, because when you're not connected, you feel disconnected. Therefore, naturally, we're going to go into desperation to feel connected again. But they don't know how to actually get there. So they start doing things like, you know, selling in ways they don't want to, creating products they don't want to, and things like that. Do you see that all the time?
Yeah, and then the trust is gone.
Yeah.
You probably had people halfway across that bridge like, okay, I'm vibing with her, this is feeling good, and then you start pivoting and doing weird shit, and then everyone's like, oh, no, not for me.
What are you doing?
Let me just go back off this bridge. So, yeah, I see that all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, not that everyone has to go and get another job, but like I also think that's just permission for people of like, just because someone else, you know, doesn't have another job or this, like your journey gets to be so different. I have clients who still have another job. I have clients who don't. Like, and I don't think anything is right or wrong. And I think that's where we go wrong in business is we all think, oh, that's the right way. That's the wrong way. I'm going to get judged for that. Or, you know, I'm not building that way, or I'm not posting content that way. And I think it's just what I'm really collecting from you is, this is how my through line for everything is like, you know, you have to live your life for yourself first, and you are the only one who has the power to do that. And I agree, if you're not building a business for soul, I think, you know, it's going to be easy to kind of build the business, but you're always going to feel like there's something lacking.
You feel out of alignment, and that's not a good feeling.
And then it feels like force. And then you have to be motivated to do your job. And I was speaking to a client about this and I was like, the only reason you need to be motivated is because you're not inspired.
Yeah.
If you're inspired, you do not need motivation. I don't need to tell you to post content. I don't need to tell you to serve your clients. Like, you know,
can't shut up about it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, that's what it sounds like is what you really love and what you really help people do. So how would someone know they have a cult-like brand? And how would they know they don't have a cult-like brand?
Well, are people out there talking about you in rooms that you're not in?
That's a good one.
That's one for sure.
Yeah.
Other people talking about your brand before you have to. Other people that have purchased or your clients or people in your community, are they advocating for you? Are they telling their friends? Are they speaking about you? You know, are you getting tagged in other people's posts going, you have to go and try? Because if you don't, then you probably haven't built up the community if you're not hearing up. Because your community are the best marketing that you possibly have. So I feel like if they're not out there speaking for you, something's missing. There's a disconnect there somewhere. For me, it's community first always.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone if someone's like, holy shit, I just identified with all of that. I do not have a cult-like brand. Like, what's your first place you look with them? Apart from, you know, what are you doing you don't like? Let's get rid of that.
Yeah.
What's that like next step you take with them?
Clarity, like getting absolute crystal clear clarity on who you're for, why you're here. I created an AI for this actually because normally it's an hour-long consult.
Yeah.
It's just like not everyone can afford the hour-long consult. Yeah. Not everyone has the time for that. So the AI is the same version of it, but it's 20 minutes. But by the time, I would say everybody needs to go and get clarity. And what I mean by that is just understanding at a brand level, who are you here for? What are you here to do? What do you want people to feel? What do you want them to experience? What is the outcome on the other side of experiencing your brand? Like all of the brand world things, but also your buyer. You have to know your buyer so deeply at a psychological level. Because there's that layer of, you know, she says she wants it for this thing. Like she might say she wants a pair of jeans because she wants to go on a date that night. But then at a deeper level, it's like, well, she wants a particular pair of jeans to fit right because she doesn't feel confident. And then there's the deeper level, the things she doesn't even say to people publicly. You have to understand all of that.
Yeah.
When you do, you can just switch your messaging. So once all that aligns, it's so easy to create content, to sell things, to do your web copy, it all just flows.
Yeah, I always say, you know, there's the brand DNA, which is like, that's, you know, understanding your brand world and everything like that. And then you also have to understand your buyer brain because your brain is very different to your buyer's brain, and understanding what influences them, what persuades them, like what status they're looking for. And when you can understand all of that, I geek out over psychology. Yeah. I love it. It's like my underlying thing, and then I bring it into branding and marketing. But
love that.
I really love how you said that because like I stand on that is you need to know your buyer brain because, you know, if you have an audience of, and I did this with one of my clients the other day, she has an audience of mums who are getting back into health and fitness after C-sections, right? That's like her specific.
I love how niche that is. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. And we did that and she's grown. It's a new page. She has grown over her old account she's had for years in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because we went so niche. I can
see why,
Yeah. And something that I said to her is like, we really need to consider approach of our languaging to them because you think about a mum in business, you can be a savage. You can be a Navy SEAL. Like you can be like, you know, you need to do this. Like you can be quite savage with them and they're going to be more receptive because they've got more of an entrepreneur mindset, not to be rude, but you know what I mean? They can handle that. You got to think about a mum post C-section. Is she really going to respond to you being David Goggins?
Yeah.
She's probably not going to respond to that. Yeah. So like we need to also consider how does your buyer, like how are they going to be receptive to change? And I think so many people also miss that and they look at how you might do content and they'll just copy you and it's like, no, it works for you because you know your buyer. And then they might see me and be like, I've got to be like her. But it's like, no, that I know my buyer. That's why I do that. So I think that's important. We have to like kind of wrap this up. We've got maybe 10 minutes or so. But what I really wanted to speak to you about as well is your new brand. We haven't even mentioned it yet. So I want to hear, what is your new brand? Introduce it to us.
Yeah, well, it's a functional soda. It's actually been on hiatus for the last couple of months. I don't know if you've noticed that because I have been through huge life changes. Mm-hmm. That's something I actually would love to say because I think no one really talks about this. Yeah. And one of my clients mentioned, I talked to them about everything behind the scenes. And she said, I think you need to talk about this because other people need to know this is okay. So I've been building this functional soda brand for women, and it was really filling the gap for me because I'm one of those people where I put like 7 scoops in the morning into a drink. You know, I want my fat burner, I want my brain function, gut health, protein, the works. And I also love my functional sodas because they're low, or like my clean sodas because they're low calorie and it still feels like a treat. And I just thought sodas are trending as well. And I just thought if I could combine them into one, but make it aesthetic, because the fridge at a 7-Eleven or a Servo is for men.
Yeah.
All of the energy drinks, very much for men. And I love a minimalist branding. And I just look at that fridge and go, oh my God, it's so loud.
I'm overstimulated.
Yeah. So I made it very aesthetic. She's cute, I'm telling you, and she tastes good. But it has been on pause at the moment. This is what I want to talk about because I think there's other women out here who maybe need to hear this. You can go through life changes. So I've gone through a separation and I'm a mother as well. And you can go through life changes and you don't I'm typically the kind of person where I would go, no, I'm going to keep going because I do what I say I'm going to do. I stick to what I promise. So I would have done that. And then I think that's for ego. That's not for me. That's not for the season that I'm in. And at the moment, it's obviously a huge change and I'm really loving spending time with my kids. The beach, you've seen where I live, just across from the beach, you can see that I'm really in my just like I feel so at peace and in alignment with where I'm at right now. And that's because I have spaciousness. And I think that we pack our mind with so much and we pack our day with so much that it takes away the very thing that makes our business thrive. And I've just been loving this feeling of having so much space, creativity. I feel like my brain's going nuts with, and it's really bringing Business Lounge into alignment as well, where I've had Business Lounge for a year. I only feel like in the last 3 months, it's really coming to what it was always meant to be, but that's because I've had the space. And when I thought about, because this is the month that I should be launching Doop, which is my functional soda brand, and I put out a statement that it was kind of on hold because there's been all back end different things happening as well. But then I was thinking about, okay, if I'm to bring this to market right now, how does that feel? And I kept feeling friction. I just kept feeling like I don't want to do it right now, not at this moment. I feel like my children need me. I feel like I need this space. And every time I thought about adding another brand into the mix, I just felt like this, oh, I'm going to lose this incredible feeling I've got right now. So I'm bringing out a soda brand, but it's just not happening right at this moment. It's on pause till later in the year. But when I do, it's actually the Kim Kardashian brand that's just come out. So many people have sent me, I'm talking dozens of people.
It looks similar. Like,
right?
as in it reminds me of it. Because when I saw it, I thought the same thing.
And dozens of people sent it to me. And I was just like, fuck yes, that just shows how well I've done with brand building because I haven't even released it. And people are already saying, this is like your brand. Yeah,
that's so cool. And I think that is just permission for other people of like in business, you know, things are never going to go the way that we plan. So we have to be obviously have that mindset of like, okay, if not this better, like if I pause it now, there is going to be a reason, like I have a good reason. Not that you really need a reason, you can do whatever you want in your business. But like I think, you know, most people, women, high performing women, entrepreneurial minded, they're very go, go, go. Do what I say, and I think that is a brilliant reminder for people of sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And sometimes it's like not putting that guilt or shame on yourself and just being like, this is actually going to benefit the brand. Like, why would I, like, don't rush greatness, you know, like literally so cliche, but like Rome wasn't built in a day. And sometimes it's like, you pull that arrow back to shoot it further in the future. And I think a lot of people do that because they're so, like, again, desperate. So they're like desperate. I need money. I need this. And it's like what you said is like, do what you need to do. But if you can just take that step back, it will only ever benefit you moving 100%. Forward.
And I'm very big on always building from alignment, like I've said. So that would just be going so against what I've said if I did it right now. And if I can come into it, launching it in a place where I feel so expanded and it just feels like the exact right timing, then I know that I already know I've built the brand world around it in my head. I know exactly how I'll do things. And the Kim Kardashian brand doesn't scare me in the slightest because my brand is so different. I already know my brand is so strong.
Yeah. And I think like it is going to be freaking amazing, number one. Like everyone should go and follow the Instagram as well because you can see how you can literally watch you in real live time. One of my questions I was going to ask was, and we'll make this the last one and then we'll wrap up. What is your marketing strategy for this? Like what has been the number, obviously you're going to say community, right? Like, but you're letting people in on the process, which I think is huge. Like you are genuinely building it in public. Do you think that's when you went into it, you were like, all right, my marketing strategy, like that's going to be a part of it?
Yeah. There were a couple of reasons why I wanted to do the crowdfunding as well, because I'm big on the community building. And I've had a lot of investors, when I say a lot, like 4 people have said, I'll invest, I'll put up the money for it. But I want, especially females, it is my core belief that every woman should be financially independently wealthy. And I would love an opportunity for women to be able to invest in this brand because it's made for them as well. So that, having a sense of ownership over the brand will already be strong, having them feel like they're making decisions. So I've asked for input with flavors, with cans, with everything to do with building this brand. Like, what do you guys want in here? Because it's for me, but it's also for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, having that sense of ownership. Anytime someone feels, this is why cult brands work, because they feel some sense of ownership or attachment to why it's created in the first place and what they're all fighting against. So that was a big part of it, the crowdfunding, bringing people along for the decisions, not just as a marketing strategy. Genuinely, I was like, all right, this is our brand. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorite brands it's like totally different to that, but it's Liquid Death.
Yeah, I use them often as an example.
Are just my absolute favorite brand
Yeah.
ever in the world. Like that's right up my alley. Like I'm covered in like tattoos everywhere, and I'm like, they are my brand to a T. Like rebellious.
Yes.
They don't shy away in their marketing. They're very specific for one type of person,
exactly.
and it's like that's what you're doing with Doop. So. Is it Doop?
Doop, yeah.
Doop, okay. Not Doop.
Drink Doop.
Doop. Okay.
DOOP.
Okay.
But the brand name was that it's the Doop for soda. It's
I think that's because I read the tagline and it was like, yeah. Cool. Okay. So where can people find you? Tell everyone, what have you got going on? What's coming up in your world? Where can they get you?
Business Lounge is where I host my community for founders. So if you have a business and you want to build your cult brand, it's Business Lounge. But you can find all of it at Candy Kemp Co.
Amazing. And that is you on Instagram as well?
Instagram, yeah.
Okay, guys, that is it for this one. I had so many more questions. Like every single podcast episode I've done, I'm like, I need you back for part 2 because I have more questions.
I'll come back. I'm not far.
I love it. Well, now you've done one. So we can just
we'll keep going.
Yep, I love it. Okay, thank you guys for listening. If you have loved this episode, which I absolutely know you will because I did and I took so much away from it as well, please tag us, please share it, please let us know what you think and please leave a review. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, bye.
Bye.